When Frasier spots Freddy with someone who he blew off. That sounds so wrong. Shit. Alright, episode 7 of Frasier has dropped, and yes, Lilith is back. Yep, Babe Newith has returned as the one and only Dr. Sternen, and right off the bat, the banter is so on point, and if I may say, episode 7 is my favorite thus far in the series. The episode is titled Freddy's Birthday and was actually produced and directed by Kelsey Grammer. Now, the episode starts off with Frasier and Alan at the bar. Frasier says to Alan that Freddy blew him off for someone else, possibly a date. He then spots Freddy across the room at the bar with someone who he can't see yet, and he goes, screw it, I want to go over, embarrass him, and meet his date. Frasier goes over to meet Freddy's date when he's greeted by the Ice Princess herself, Dr. Lilith Sternen. And for the next couple of minutes, the roasting is bloody glorious, and it just felt like the old school banter they had in the original series. Now, the main premise around this opening is Freddy at first doesn't want his parents at his birthday party. All they do is bicker and just make a scene, but Frasier and Lilith take it upon themselves to be civil, but also be competitive in the process, as they always have been. Now, usually I've said the side gags in this series fall flat, but in this case, the side gag works, and it works really well. In the beginning, we see Alan reintroduce himself to Lilith. He did a speech at Lilith and Frasier's wedding, but Lilith, for the life of her, cannot remember him, and it does his absolute head in, to the point of when they rock up to the bowling alley for Freddy's birthday party, Alan wears the same white suit that he wore to Lilith and Frasier's wedding to rejog Lilith's memory. And then the roasting from Lilith, Frasier, and Freddy was brilliant, and they kind of felt like a family for just a minute. Frasier is definitely out of his comfort zone being in a bowling alley, and there's a nice little bit there about putting shoes on, and even Lilith goes up to the clerk and says, I will not be wearing shoes, and he says, of course, Dr. Sternen. She still has that power hold over everyone. David is present once again, but again just comes off as annoying at this point. Again, not a dig at the actor. I'm just not a fan of his writing at this point. Now, when it comes to the gifts that Lilith and Frasier have for Freddy, once again, they are being competitive for his affection. So Lilith gets Freddy a football, does the whole gag, it was supposed to be autographed, turns and there's a professional football player there, and I do not know his name because I'm not a sports fan. Sorry? Frasier, on the other hand, got a pen that was wielded by the author of Freddy's favorite book, The Catcher in the Rye, or so he thought was his favorite book. The football present ultimately wins. Lilith and Frasier then have a sit down and realize that their competitiveness is definitely getting out of him before David announces that there's a Freddy trivia contest. Now, Frasier unfortunately loses to Lilith before it's revealed to Lilith that Frasier and Freddy have been living together, much to Lilith's disappointment. The next day, Lilith comes over to see Frasier and extend the olive branch. Frasier takes her upstairs to show Freddy's room and just see what he's been up to, and you can only guess what was bound to happen. And then this happens, and then this happens. And that's pretty much the episode, guys, and that is why episode 7 is my favorite episode thus far. The banter between Lilith and Frasier was on par from the OG series. We see their back and forth of roasting each other, but at the end of the day, I love that they always end up putting Freddy first and committing to being good parents despite their differences. Alan's side gag with his suit and being served by the Crane/Sternen family was a nice touch, and David, regardless of the little grabs, like I said, this is my favorite episode thus far. It was just so nice to see Babe Newith back. I love her performance as Lilith. She has not missed a beat, exactly like Kelsey Grammer. They have just slipped back into their respective roles with absolute ease. And again, the writing is just so sharp once again. Really looking forward to episodes 8, 9, and 10. We're on the home stretch. Love you guts, and I'll catch you in the next one.